Hey guys, in front of you is one of my Spyderco Manix 2 XLs with S90V. From the factory, the edge was pretty badly damaged. It had a flat spot with a lot of microchipping around the middle of the edge, which was about 7/8 of an inch long. Additionally, the edge thickness was between 0.65 and 0.8 millimeters. Which is extremely substantial. Alright. Because of that, it didn't cut all that well, and sharpening it was a pain in the ass because you had to remove so much material because the bevel was so wide, and because S90V is so abrasion resistant, it was a nightmare. So, I reground the blade. It doesn't look pretty, but it is quite a bit thinner behind the edge now. I will put the edge thickness in the description for this video. I gotta tell you, grinding S90V sucks. As you can see, it's kind of a partial mirror finish. What I did was just a full height convex. See? You can see a reflection of my camera phone. The thing that abraded it the best, which is surprising to me, was a brand new 80 grit aluminum oxide belt. Because I had planned on regrinding this for about a month now, I had ordered some silicon carbide belts because silicon carbide is one of the few abrasives that is hard enough to abrade vanadium carbides. And the behavior was quite weird. The 80 grit silicon carbide did not really want to abrade the steel, it more wanted to polish it. So that's when I went to an 80 grit aluminum oxide belt. And then from there I worked up a progression. There's 150 silicon carbide, 220 silicon carbide, 320 silicon carbide, 400 silicon carbide, 600 silicon carbide. And that's the basic finish you've got there. And then, because I wanted to sort of buff it and blend it together, I coated one of my buffing wheels in diamond paste. And even that didn't want to put a nicer polish on this. Generally, I used the buffing wheel to sort of blend the areas together so it looks nice. And with this, it almost looks like, yeah, you can see one area is mirror polish, and then you've got grind lines up here. Additionally, something that was kind of frustrating about grinding this, when I first started, I was thinking, alright, it's full flat grind, so I'm going to make it into a very lean full flat grind and just, slam the blade flat on the platen and go at it. But the problem was that from the factory, while it was a full flat ground blade, it actually wasn't flat. It was convex for about this much, where the two angles didn't exactly meet the flat. You sort of had one angle and then another angle, a slightly steeper angle, so maybe not convex, but it was sort of a compound grind. Not that noticeable by eye, but when you start working with it, it became quite apparent and quite frustrating. So, I got it done. This actually took me about 3 hours to do. Part of the reason for that is because this is a new knife, and it is quite expensive. I did not want to risk, burning the metal, burning the edge, anything like that. So basically I did it in one stroke increments, and between every stroke I cool it off in water. So this blade never got above lukewarm at any time. So I can guarantee you I did not, cause any sort of heat damage, which was my main goal. But now it cuts a whole lot better, which is one of my main goals in doing this. The other was to make it sharpen easier, because the bevel is so narrow now. I'm not going to have to remove nearly as much material when I want to reprofile this. Now, I know John Davis was having similar problems grinding S90V, and the general consensus was that, you need to use something like cubic boron nitride. And I'd actually looked into that. You know, a Google search returned a couple of hits. I think one of them was like AliExpress. But the problem is, I don't want to pay $100 for one single belt that doesn't fit any of my belt grinders. So, silicon carbide was the way to go. And it did work relatively well. Now, I'll give you, it isn't pretty, as in it's not a nice sort of blended together continuous grind. But a lot of times when you're going from full flat to convex, you do end up with a portion around this area of the blade that doesn't exactly get abraded fully without taking the edge down to a dangerously thin level. And it's kind of frustrating, but this is going to be a user knife for me, so it's not that big of a deal. Typically when I regrind a knife and I want to put effort in making it look good, it ends up looking something like this, where it is very nicely blended together. Got a couple of smudge marks on this, but very nicely blended together. Extremely thin behind the edge. This is sub 10 thou, so very, very thin. I didn't want to take the Manix quite that low. Number one, this is my first experience with S90V, and to be honest with you, because I don't have a lot of experience with it, I didn't know exactly how low I could go without, you know, running into some issues. I do cut a lot of wood, and I didn't want to, you know, have a piece of the primary grind just break out because I was being rough and applying lateral force. But I think it turned out alright. You know, it is a bitch to grind though. And sharpness. It does have some microchipping still in the middle of the edge, which is how the factory sent it out, but it is quite sharp. Let's see if we can do a 90-degree push cut. .90-degree push cut. That's going with the grain. Let's see if we can do it going against the grain. Yep. It went kind of crooked, but it did do a true 90-degree push cut. Well, going cross grain, which a knife has to be pretty sharp to do. It also whittles hair, so I'm happy. Stay tuned for a rope cut test sometime in the near future. I am planning on reprofiling the edge, and instead of just, you know, redoing a sharp edge, I figured I'd test it on rope, sort of to see where S90V stands compared to some of the other steels, which is going to be interesting because my other tests have all gone extremely well. I mean, I got a Rat 1, which did, I'd say, over 200 cuts into sisal rope, and afterwards it would still shave hair in very cleanly sliced phone book paper, so I don't know if S90V will hold up that well, but we'll see. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon.